right, so we're picking back up here with tangent, talking about when the tangent would equal 0. And I was saying there's a couple ways you can think about this. You have the sine divided by cosine, because that's what tangent is, equals 0. You can try to think of what kind of fractions equal 0. And the only fractions that equal 0 are ones where the numerator is equal to 0. Or you can kind of think about it maybe algebraically a different way. If you multiply both sides of this equation by cosine, you just get sine of theta equals 0. Either way you think about it, wherever sine is equal to 0, so is tangent. And so when I look at the unit circle, I can see 2 points where the sine is equal to 0. Of course, these are going to repeat every 2 pi. But we are just gathering a few more points to our graph of tangent. I know that tangent will go through the point 0, 0, and I know it will go through the point pi, 0, and 2 pi, 0, and 3 pi, 0, and negative 7 pi, 0, just because of the periodic nature of tangent. Now, when tangent is undefined, how can you have a fraction be undefined? The only way that a fraction is undefined is if you are dividing by 0. So remember, our tangent is sine divided by cosine. So we know it's going to be undefined if we have cosine equal to 0. And I can see that at the bottom and at the top of the unit circle. So what I know now is that pi over 2 will not have a y value. It'll be undefined. There will not be a point at that graph, a point on the graph at that point. And 3 pi over 2 will also be undefined. So we've gathered 6 different points that are on the graph, plus all of the different additions of 2 pi, and we've got 2 different points that are undefined, plus all of the additions of 2 pi. What I want to do now is go to the next slide and just look at tangent in all of its glory. So just take a look here at tangent. You can see it has the periodic shape where it repeats. No matter how much I zoom out, we will get more and more of those S-curve shapes. You will also notice that at all whole number values of pi, we have an x-intercept. That's because when you look at the unit circle at pi or at 2 pi or at 0 or at negative pi, they all have a sine value of 0. Tangent is sine divided by cosine. You'll also notice that there are all of these asymptotes. The asymptotes are there at pi over 2, negative pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 5 pi over 2, 7 pi over 2. You can just continue to add 2 pi as you go from left to right. And that is how you get the graph of tangent. It takes a little bit for students because it requires you to combine your knowledge of fractions to your knowledge of the unit circle and then apply that to the graph. And so that's, I think, the tricky part is just remembering what it takes for a fraction to equal 1, what it takes for a fraction to equal negative 1, what it takes for a fraction to equal 0, and what it takes for a fraction to be undefined. And that's all.